Worst. Hey friends, so I want to welcome you to tonight's quick call on autoimmune health and plexus. My name's Amy Welch, and we're going to get right into it tonight because I have suffered with thyroid disease since I was in my early 20s. I'm 45 now, and I just assumed back then that's what my life was going to be like, that I just kind of drew the short straw, and I just got used to taking a pill every day, living on caffeine, taking naps. I could look at a potato chip and gain weight. The exhaustion, the brain fog, the low libido, low vitamin levels, like that was just my normal. And I got used to it. Back then, I didn't know that I actually didn't have to get used to that. But I want to back up really quickly and talk about why. Autoimmune disease, what is it? For those who maybe are watching this for a friend and they're not familiar, it's when the body's own immune system reacts against some of its tissue and it produces antibodies and it attacks itself, right? So autoimmune issues actually represent the third most common chronic illness in the US. Some autoimmune issues are super rare, but others, like Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is what I had, and I had hypothyroidism, they're super common. Other common ones are lupus, psoriasis, Crohn's, colitis, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis. The list goes on and on. Autoimmune issues are actually a leading cause of death and disability in the US, and they affect over 23.5 million people. And that number continues to rise daily. In fact, the number one prescription medication is Synthroid or its generic form for hypothyroidism. But why is that? It's the gut microbiome. Research has actually linked autoimmune issues to the health of our gut microbiome. And because 80% of our immune system is within our gut lining, any imbalances we have can contribute to the development of an autoimmune disease, like the ones I mentioned, but also like IBS. That's also technically an autoimmune health issue, okay? And then if you have any sort of pro-inflammatory microbes in your gut, that also can lead to more autoimmune diseases. So what causes that gut imbalance? Modern day life. We are all kind of victims to modern day life. No matter how hard we try to live our healthiest lifestyle, everything from antibiotics, C-sections, and polluted air that we breathe, all of that affects that gut bacteria and increases our risk of autoimmune disease, okay? So plexus, though, helps with that. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight without a science lesson. We're just going to share our stories. But I wanted you guys to know that it's that microbiome imbalance in your gut that all of us have, right? I probably had some of it from an infant because I was, just my environment. And then I'm a child of the 70s and 80s when fruit roll-ups and Mountain Dew were really popular. And we didn't know back then the effect those would have on our gut. So my body took my gut imbalance and turned it into Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Other people obviously have other autoimmune disease, but plexus helps all of those because our whole focus for over 14 years now has been on the gut microbiome and really getting your body's gut back to the balance that it's supposed to be, okay? So back in 2015, when I first started plexus as a complete skeptic, with my Hashimoto's thyroiditis, I started on the triplex gut health system because that's what was recommended to me. I didn't know anything about gut health, but was just tired of being tired all the time. And some stranger on the internet said it might help. And I was desperate. But within just a couple of weeks, my husband actually commented, and listen, bless his heart, we've been married for 20 years, but he doesn't even notice when I get a haircut, right? So he noticed, he said it was like he got his wife back because I just started feeling better and the brain fog lifted and then the exhaustion wasn't as bad. And then I didn't have the mood swings and then, all of this stuff compounded. And then 6 months later, when I went to see my endocrinologist, who was down at the MD Anderson Cancer Center. So prior to Plexus, years before, I'd found a growth on my thyroid and it was teeny, teeny, tiny, too little to biopsy. But I was going to the cancer center every 6 to 12 weeks to have it checked. We would do blood work and an ultrasound. And then once it got big enough, if it did, I would do a biopsy. So she noticed, though, on one of those regular visits that my levels that for 20 years had been within the normal ranges, because we, managed my medication, that my levels were on the high end of normal. And she also noticed that none of my symptoms that I had, even when I was on my Synthroid, were present anymore. And so she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I started this stuff called Plexus." And she actually took me off all of my medication, which is not the goal, but it's pretty typical, right? And she was the first medical doctor to really sit me down and talk to me about the connection between autoimmune disease and gut health. And she said, "Listen, Amy, it's not something we're taught in medical school, but the research is just now getting to where we're looking at putting it into practice," right? So like research around the microbiome has been around for, 20 like decades, but they've not started to put it into practice. So I am here now 7 years later. Besides my 20-year marriage, Plexus is the only other thing I've ever been consistent on. And I do now have one thyroid missing. That growth got big enough to where we decided just to get rid of a thyroid lobe, but I'm still symptom free. And my blood work is perfect. So I no longer have low B or low D or low iron. I couldn't tell you the last time I needed a nap. Pre-Plexus, I'd be falling into bed right now at 7:30, just waiting to put my pajamas on. And I was the mom that was on the couch all the time. And now I'm the mom that's like, "Hey, you want to go on a walk with me? Hey, let's go to the park. Let's do this." And it's all because I tried Plexus, and Plexus has such a focus on gut health. But it's not just me, even though I could talk for days about thyroid disease and issues, and I love helping people. Plexus actually helps tens of thousands of people with autoimmune issues every single day. So I want my friend Amy Morton to unmute herself and share her story about Plexus and autoimmune.
Hey, all right, happy to share. Thank you for having me on. So, I actually started taking Plexus for my severe tummy troubles. And I won't go into too much detail, but it was severe. Uh, it was labeled twice as irritable bowel syndrome by two different gastros. And over the years, I tried pretty much everything under the sun for my IBS, and nothing worked. I even tried other probiotics, those fancy ones you keep in the refrigerator even. Didn't really help. So I have to say, when I was introduced to Plexus, I was like, "Nope, no thank you, that's not gonna work. Nothing works for me. I just have a messed up stomach." It's not gonna work. But my friend, who loves me very much, didn't give up on me, thank goodness, and eventually, I tried it, and within my first month, I noticed positive changes. So I couldn't remember my last bad day with my stomach after a month on Plexus. So then it was about 4 to 5 months later, I was like, "Holy cow, I do not even have IBS anymore." I don't. And it just blew my mind. It still does. I always say, if this stuff can help my stomach, it can help anybody's stomach. So, I guess it was probably about almost a year after that, and I was consistent on the triplex the whole time, which is our gut health system, our gut health combo. I went for a run, and it was in the 20s, which is abnormally cold here in Georgia, but I remember it was in the 20s, and I forgot my gloves, and I was like, "Oh no, I am gonna die. I gotta have my..." Georgia. My pediatrician advised me to only look at Southern schools because my Raynaud's was so bad. It started in middle school and just got worse. Like, so bad, my fingers would go numb in the grocery store. My fingers would go numb if I was driving, just from the vibrations of the wheel. Holding a cold drink, numb. And it would take me a long time to get the circulation back. So anyways, I did only look at Southern schools, and I went to Auburn, which is near where we live now. I'm in Atlanta now. But anyways, that run, right? I forgot my gloves. I was freaking out. Well, I ran anyways without gloves, and my fingers did not go numb. I was like, what is going on here? Could this be the plexus too? So I went home and I Googled gut health and Raynaud's. Sure enough, they're connected. So I read all kinds of articles about if you get your gut healthy, your Raynaud's symptoms will be a lot better, maybe even go away. And that was pretty exciting news for me. And that was a long time ago, guys. I've been taking Plexus probably now for 6 years, almost 7. I can't remember the last time my fingers have gone numb. It's been years, like years, which is amazing to me, because when I think back on how bad it was and how it was every winter, fall, spring, I mean, even 60 degrees, they go numb. And when other people aren't even cold, my hands would be numb. So grateful for that. Side note, I never slept much ever. I've been addicted to Tylenol PM too many times than I want to admit. Since getting my gut healthy with the triplex, I sleep all night like a baby. It is totally awesome. So I love that. And it's helped my Raynaud's, helped my IBS, sugar cravings. I used to have them really bad. I was a personal trainer, addicted to sweets secretly. Amy knows, because Amy knew me before Plexus. I was obsessed with sweets. Now I'm not. I don't even really think about them. But anyways, that's my story. And I'm grateful for Plexus every day. Over the years, the past 6 years, I've been able to help probably hundreds of people that have autoimmune diseases feel better. So that's an awesome feeling. And one huge reason why I continue to share is to help people that suffered with something that I suffered with, or suffered with something different. But anyways, I'm going to pass it over to my friend Misty, and she is going to share a pretty incredible story about someone she has helped.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Amy, can you pass the host over to me for a second? Because I really want to share, it's going to be on my Facebook page because, well, that's just how I'm rolling tonight. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about, it's multiple issues, but I come from the medical field, and I will tell you that specifically people who work shift work are very prone to autoimmune disease. And so with that, a lot of my network, most of my network, let's be real, most of my network are from public service, whether it's fire, EMS, nurses in hospitals, ERs, ICUs, you name it. But what I've seen a trend in the past couple of years is that I have more and more of my friends age 30, age 40 that are coming to me with newly diagnosed autoimmune diseases. And I can't help but know that it's attributed to their gut health. There are so many stressors involved in medical. The last 2 years, first of all, have been horrible. But the stressors involved, the types of foods they eat, the things they drink to stay awake, they're terribly, terribly harmful on the gut. And then you add in the lack of sleep. And everything starts fighting. Your body starts fighting. And then one day it just is like, I'm not going to fight anymore. I'm just going to give in. And you're going to develop all of these terrible issues. One friend in particular, my friend Terry, I'm getting ready to show you a picture. And I can't wait to watch the expressions, because Terry started with me 3 years ago. And like many, she quit Plexus. She came to me with a host of issues. Primarily, she had Wegener's syndrome. If you don't know what Wegener's is, it's an inflammatory issue of the vessels. So literally, it's inflammation in your blood vessels that cannot be controlled or fixed. And you can imagine what that does to every organ, your nerves, everything. And when she came to me, she was hopeless. She never got out of bed. It was to the point of where when she would call me, she would be so drugged up on all of the 7 different opioid pain medications they had her on. She couldn't even get her words out to me. And but I kept in touch with her. She just wasn't in the right frame of mind. And then a few months later, let me go ahead and share my screen. She and I started reconnecting. She said, I need to do this for me. I'm going to start right now. We're going to do this. I need your help. And this is Terry. This is Terry when she contacted me a year and a half ago in 2019. And this is Terry now. This is why I do this. Because her Wegener's actually created her 4 additional health issues that are all autoimmune related. She has 2 different types of lupus. She has 2 different types of arthritis. And it seemed like this is her story. Her story was, she told me, I laid in bed 24/7 waiting to die. That was the only hope I had, was that I would die. And then she called about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. She is already excelling in the gym, but on September 10th, she texted me and said, Misty, I'm joining a 24-hour fitness. I didn't think I would ever have any hope in my life of getting to do something like this ever. And her story is remarkable. You would have to read her. Actually, my page is an open page. And if you want to go to my page and just search Terry Sheffield, the entire story is there. But Terry, I may have it somewhere down here. I don't even know. But Terry, oh, and this is her as well. This was her at the height of her Wegener's from all the medications and the drugs they had her on. This is her in the interim. And then this is her today. And her story, when this was put out there, like, does anybody have any autoimmune stories? I could not. I was like, I know she won't tell it. She's just not comfortable yet telling it. But I asked her if I could tell her story, and she said, absolutely, if it helps someone else, because she said, Misty, this plexus has literally given me my life back. She said, the only option I had, I felt, was that I was going to die. And that was actually my hope. My hope was death. Because the life I had on earth was no longer my life. And I was a slave to doctor's offices. I was a slave to pills. I was a slave to pain management. And she said, in a year and a half, my whole life is back. I feel like the whole version of myself again. She still struggles with pain issues, but she is taking 2 medications now. And she's weaning herself down with the help of her doctors from her pain medications. She will always be on some kind of medication, and she knows that just because of the damage that's done to her vessels. But she is one of those that said, I am so thankful that I gave up the first time, because I never would have gotten to the point where I had no hope to come back and do it a second time. And so my second time arounders, for me, I wish I could coin that name, but my second time arounders are truly the most inspiring, successful, incredibly amazing, impactful stories of probably anybody on my team, because they did give up. And then they had to literally hit rock bottom to try it again. But I will tell you, the pain that she was suffering with was, you could hear it in her voice. You could hear it. And so what I urge you to do, again, everything that she did her own research with gut health and all of her other ailments. And there's not a single disputed article that can be found that says gut health does not attribute to them. And I challenge you to go look for one. Yeah, I can't find it because they don't exist. And so I think that's really where we need to live and breathe with Plexus, is that we know that it's the foundation for our entire body and our health. And what I'll leave you with here, because I don't want to drag this out too long, is that, I talk poop. I'm just going to say it out loud because we all do it. We all just need to embrace it. But before you leave a hospital, for any reason, what's the one thing you're required to do before they'll release you? Poop or pass gas. And why? Because when they know that if the gut is working, the rest of the body can work. If we could just get them to employ that whole idea that the gut is truly the root of it all and treat the gut first instead of treating it 10th, 12th, and 15th, like with my friend Terry, maybe she wouldn't have had all of the autoimmune diseases she has now. Maybe it could have been attacked early on and she wouldn't have struggled with all of those horrible things. But her story is here, and I love it so much, and I want her to tell it so bad. She's just not there yet. So thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me talk about her, but show her picture specifically, because I think a picture speaks a million words.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And, tell her thank you for allowing you to share it. I totally understand not being ready to share your own story, but just the fact that she will let you share that is great, because that's really what I think connects people to the products, right? We could do commercials and have stuff on the shelves, but it's the personal stories that really help tell the power of plexus and the power of gut health. And I want to encourage everyone who does have an autoimmune disease, one, like Misty said, do your own research, but also be your own advocate. Not all doctors, because they're not taught in medical school about gut health. So they may not even know when you go to talk to them and get approval for something like plexus. So be your own advocate, and really encourage them to look into gut health. And if they will not, then find a new doctor. There are plenty of doctors out there that are really into looking at the root cause of illnesses. So thank you guys for sharing your stories. Amy, Misty, if anyone's on, anybody watches live, anybody watches the recording, you can find Amy, myself, and Misty all online. Like she said, we're all our pages are public. But if you have any questions specifically about something we didn't cover, something you're still not sure about, just message the person that invited you and we will get all of your questions answered. Thanks, guys.